Rogue trader. I indeed have a request, Rogue trader. The accursed servants of Chaos who assaulted this ship took the lives of your loyal crew members, and they orphaned many children, including the progeny of the brave officers who defended their posts until the bitter end. I don't know what customary practices there are for cases like this in Von Valancia's territory, but in the world I'm familiar with, the children of such brave souls could expect to receive some special consideration. Perhaps the rogue trader could meet with the orphans? I will pass on your instructions. Thank you for taking my request to heart.
마리오22님 추천 감사합니다.
Greetings. Gladly, there are none more faithful to the God Emperor than my sisters. We fight against his enemies by the will of the Holy Ecclesiarchy. I beg your pardon, Rogue Trader. Here I am talking about what every lesser noble in the Imperium knows. So what exactly are you interested in hearing about? It is The Sisters of Battle are a fire lit by the God Emperor. They are the echo of his voice that travels through the dark expanses of the universe. We bring his wrath to heretics, mutants, and other enemies of humanity. We protect the faithful from the unholy and unhallowed. Sometimes with words, more often than not with a bolter. Even the novices of the Adeptus Sororitas are drawn from among the most worthy. Those who have taken the vows and become a full-fledged sister are the best of the best, tested by trials of body and spirit. Yes, there have been cases when a sister stumbled or showed weakness, but do not expect to hear a story of depravity or downfall from me. Each such occurrence is a great tragedy for us all. Light cannot bear the smallest speck of darkness within. And thus those who have trespassed or shown weakness of spirit are given a chance at redemption. They are called Sisters Repentia, and may the enemy tremble before her, for nothing can stop a sister of battle who yearns to be cleansed of faults and weakness. Wearing nothing but robes, no armor, eviscerator in hand, those sisters who have once faltered find repentance on the battlefield. Their lives are seldom long, but a death in the name of purgation is a better fate than to live with a shadow in one's soul. Once I had completed my novitiate, I was sent to the Calixian branch of the Order of Our Martyred Lady, assigned to the Orders Pronatus. The Order's mission is vital and noble. The Sisters Pronatus protect great relics of the Imperium. We guard them, preserve them, escort them when they are brought onto the battlefield or presented for pilgrims to venerate. And we seek out the relics that have been lost. Neither a coven of heretics nor the most wicked death world can deter Sisters Pronatus when their goal is to return a piece of the great legacy of the Imperium into the hands of the faithful. Don't let the name deceive you. The Order's militant train sisters to march onto the battlefield as an army. That does not make sisters who belong to the non-militant orders timid and helpless. Both the solace-bringing Sisters Hospitaller and the enlightened Sisters Dialogus know how to greet enemies of humanity. Their dialogue with heretics is usually quite short, with the last word being a bolter discharge. And my order has all the more reason to be known for the martial prowess of its sisters. We are the keepers of the Imperium's relics. What would become of our blessed hero's legacy if the Sisters Pronatus could not protect it? The Order sent me to Footfall. My undertaking was to assist the local priesthood of Drusians in caring for a sacred reliquary that had been there since the time of Parson Mr. Wayne, the station's founder. None that I'm aware of, but the Sisterhood's orders are many, and can operate independently of one another, sending their sisters wherever their presence is needed as deemed by the ecclesiarchy. Perhaps somewhere in the Lord Inquisitor's retinue, may his path be blessed, my sisters perform their duty as we speak. I wish it were so. Even a single evening spent in joint prayer and training would bring me joy. Should any more arise, keeping them to yourself would be imprudent. It is a virtue to take an interest in holiness. About me? I am the Emperor's daughter and his servant. What else is there to tell about me? I first came here when I found myself in need of passage from Footfall to a remote planet. But I imagine what interests you is not that first journey, but rather what brought me aboard I made a mistake. In a moment of laxity, I was ambushed by the accursed followers of the archenemy. I was badly wounded. Lady Theodora came to my aid and brought me aboard her ship, where crew attended to me in my weakened state. It all happened not too long ago. I had barely recovered from my wounds when the cultists struck. Truly, the servants of evil know no rest. There is no place where we can be safe from their machinations. Sadly, they did not. Lady Theodora was in a hurry and chose not to stay on the planet. Her people took me to a ship while I was unconscious, and when I came to my senses, we were already flying away. How I pray to come face to face with those heretics once more, and it's bound to happen someday. It happens even to the best of us. My mistakes are my burden to bear. I'll find a way to atone for them. On one of the recently discovered planets in the Expanse, no one suspected that it had already been tainted by the filth of heresy. Had I known it beforehand, of course I would have been on my guard. The path to that planet was lost. All the knowledge is gone, along with the previous navigator. It would take immense effort and resources to rediscover the route. The heir to the von Valanci's protectorate must have plenty of other issues to deal with right now. Perhaps later, when the skies above our heads have cleared. I hadn't been here that long. Just one journey from Footfall, and the other journey, the majority of which I spent in the confines of the medbay. I can't tell you much about the first voyage. I was more focused on prayers and ruminations than on the people around me, or the journey itself. During the last journey, Seneschal Viserion stood out for me. He came by several times to ask about my health. He's an honorable man and a loyal servant of the Imperium. I think he is as meticulous in his inspections of the logistics systems as he is in his inquiries about the health of the occasional sister of battle aboard the ship. But not all of Theodora's people have earned my trust. You know who I'm talking about. There is no place for Adira Tlas among the God Emperor's faithful. I'm surprised she wasn't in league with the cultists. And I'm equally surprised by how deep heresy and treason run in this place. I'm glad we all made it through that dark hour. May the day that follows be bright. As you wish. The ship was targeted by heretics, which means that my presence here and the assistance I provide to you are my sacred duty. Sooner or later, I will likely have to return to Footfall to protect its reliquary. But for now, I wish to remain a part of the rogue trader's crew. So they shall.
Lord Captain. A noble aspiration, Lord Captain. I am ready to acquaint you with all the particulars that interest you. This is a topic for an official briefing, not a casual conversation. But I will try to answer succinctly. And if you permit, in my own words, the Coronis Expanse is considerably removed from the heart of the Imperium. This means that local warp routes become useless within months. Until recently, the Coronis Expanse could hardly have been called a region of the Imperium. The situation has changed with the arrival of the Lord Inquisitor, but not by much. This place operates under its own rules, you see. More radical, so to speak. But ones that allow for a non-standard approach where there is a promise of victory. The Coronis Expanse is considered rogue trader territory for a reason. Only rogue traders have sufficient military might, audacity, and the rights granted them by the warrant to survive the leap into the unexplored part of the Expanse, and in the event of a successful outcome, to hold on to whatever they manage to capture on the frontier. In the first instance, you should treat official representatives of the Imperium with respect. The Expanse may be on the fringes, but it still numbers among the territories of the Golden Throne. The arrival of the Lord Inquisitor has turned the Coronis Expanse into a less wild and uncontrolled region, to the regret of some individuals who had grown inured to the local lawlessness. Rogue traders such as yourself are also servants of the Imperium. They have been accorded special rights and powers. They wield immense authority within their territory, and they enjoy absolute respect in other parts of the Expanse. The most powerful of them are Kalagos Winterscale and Incendia Bastal Chorda. Tread carefully when dealing with either of them. If we are to speak of unclaimed territory, which is what Footfall is, among the scum that dwells on that handful of asteroids, there are 3 factions that wield considerable influence in the sector. The first is the Kazbala Commission, organized crime in its most primitive form. It holds sway over the Liege of Footfall and has links to rogue trader Winterscale. The second faction is an offshoot of our shining ecclesiarchy, followers of St. Drusus. They are actively building their forces and hold influence over rogue trader Chorda. And finally, the third faction, the Explorators, a wing of the Adeptus Mechanicus. They are willing to die and kill for the secrets of the ancient technological heresies that are hidden among the stars of the Coronis Expanse. You know, Lord Captain, I am no admirer of fine art. But when we next find ourselves in a civilized port, with time to spare, I will promptly find an artist and commission a portrait of the individual to whom you refer, with a hole between the eyes. Conrad Voigtveer. That he committed his treachery and escaped with his life was an unforgivable oversight. We both served Lord Captain Theodora for many years, and we never saw eye to eye. He was brash. He was never afraid of assuming responsibility, and he willingly took on difficult tasks. I am loath to admit it, but the Von Valancius Protectorate continues to reap the fruits of his labors to this day. His service always garnered my respect. But everything else about him made me want to wring the neck of that two-faced snake. If you are taking comfort in the thought that we will hear no more of Conrad, prepare to be disappointed. You thwarted his plans, his meticulously plotted and nurtured treachery. As you wish, Lord Captain. As you wish, Lord Captain. What would you like? I used to be an officer in the Navis Imperialis. No. Used to be is not quite right. It was not simply a job. It was my calling, the essence of my life. I was proud to serve Lord Captain Theodora, but in my heart and mind, I'm still an officer of the Imperium. I met Lord Captain Theodora on a mission where the Imperial Navy was providing reinforcement to the rogue traders' army on one of the frontier worlds. Our acquaintance was not easy. Working with people outside the Navy hierarchy has never been my strong suit. It was to my great surprise then that after the mission's completion, I received a referral to leave my service in the Navy and join the rogue traders' personal council. It was a difficult choice for me. But I saw in the offer a chance to serve the interests of humanity even more effectively than in the Navis Imperialis. You do not need me to tell you just how remarkable a person Lord Captain Theodora was. I recognized her at once as a true leader and formidable creative force, one who had built a protectorate amidst the dangers and wildness of the Expanse. You could say there was no one among the naval command who was willing to impede the wishes of the rogue trader. To do so would be to risk their own position and their relationship with Theodora. The Lord Captain possessed certain contacts in the Imperial Navy, contacts which she used to request help during the conflict on the border world, and which enabled her to make me an offer that resulted in my joining her retinue. The Navis Imperialis is an ancient institution with its own mandates and muster lists. On occasion, in the heat of an official briefing or an informal discussion, I violated those rules, determined to press my point. It is challenging to choose the words to accurately express my opinion on a situation or the actions of others that do not sound overly scathing or confrontational. Many in command were inclined to view my manner of speaking as unbefitting a person of my rank. What? Lord Captain, any allegations of improper feelings or unsanctioned relations are utterly baseless and bordering on the insulting. Utterly baseless. I am a widower. I am a father of 4, and if my information is not outdated, a grandfather of 11. My family lives on Dargonus. None of my children express any eagerness or aptitude for serving aboard ship, and I would hardly have insisted that they follow in my footsteps. Of course. I thank you for the honor, but I must decline. As a former military officer, I believe in the importance of order in all things, including the chain of command. You are the Lord Captain, my direct superior. I am not prepared to address you in any way other than as regulation dictates. Lord Captain.
I won't compromise my principles.
Macro cannons! Volley!
What are you talking about, Lord Captain?
Look, Lady Theodora couldn't care less if some eggheads measured my brains or not. It's not about the seal on your forehead, get it? It's about what's in your gut, if it's rotten or not. My gut's stronger than the adamantine on this here ship, and my implants are better than the ones they put in you on your Terra. If they weren't, I wouldn't have lived as long as I have.
Lyra, an outlying world in the Heathen Stars region. In the Coronis Expanse, the deeper you go, the less visible the Astronomicon gets, and the less people know about the Imperium. The arrival of a rogue trader is the best thing that can happen to a world like that. The very best. It's an out-of-the-way planetoid between two faint stars. On Lyra, a dozen local tyrants fight over 5 measly continents. But they use everything they can to win, from poison to psychers. I haven't been there in many years, but there's nothing for me to miss. Trust me. But here on the ship is a different story altogether. I saw more wonders in my first year serving Lady von Valancius than I'd seen in my whole life on Lyra. Like my first journey through the warp, I was in bed for 3 days. I felt like supernovas were exploding in my head. It wasn't like it was a very fun trip, Lord Captain. But look, if you want to be entertained, I'm the woman for the job. I'll entertain you with one of the stories from my collection, no problem. But if you want to hear about the time I melted everyone in the bay next door, well, I just don't really want to go into the details on that one, all right? Oh, I embroidered wall hangings in honor of our national heroes. I did the same thing I do here, Lord Captain. Divining. Our rulers prized the ability to see into the future. Every psyker that could be found was worth a small fortune on Lyra. There's no such thing as a peaceful life on Lyra. People like me were especially sought after. They'd pick psychers up wherever they found them, buy kids off their parents, even just abduct them. Take me, for instance. I got taken from my street gang. The older kids sold me when they noticed there was something off about me. The ruling dynasties had schools where they trained us and beat us black and blue. And then they packed us off to serve. Some of us held on for a long time, but others didn't last. Not everyone's as smart and talented as me, you know. Some people crossed the line and were out of commission before their time. Theodora von Valancius paid a visit to the ruler I was serving at the time. I don't know what the visit was for, and it's no business of mine anyway. I can still remember the way the voices in my head changed when I looked at her. They were practically screaming. She had so much behind her, and plenty ahead of her too. And as I gawped at her, all of a sudden I heard a whisper. A hint, a suggestion, nothing more. But I know the difference between idle chatter and a real threat. I seized my chance and approached Theodora. I managed to whisper a couple of words in her ear before the wardens dragged me away. They beat me and locked me up. No wonder. It wasn't my place to converse with outsiders. And then Theodora's people came for me. They broke down the wall, butchered their guards. Also, I could tell them my warning in full. So I said the rest, but I didn't want to go back to my old life. And so I entered the service of the von Valancius dynasty. A few times. Not many. And if I think about it, why would I want to? I've got everything I need here. All the whispers I hear are familiar ones. They almost feel like family. And if I want to hear about the nightmares off the ship, I can, after some Amisec. But don't go getting the wrong idea. If I have to, I'll follow you to the edge of the galaxy. Of course, Lord Captain. You bet I do, Lord Captain. Okay, so we went to Footfall once. Well, I mean, Lord Captain Theodora went to Footfall a lot. But on that occasion, she took me with her for some reason. My day had gotten off to a bad start. My head had been yammering since I woke up, but there was nothing else for it. I had to go. We arrived at the place. And what a place! All the gentlemen and ladies dressed to kill, showing off their encrusted implants, all clustered around little tables. Well, turned out it was a gaming den. And not just any gaming den, but one run by somebody with deep pockets for people with just as much cash to splash. You should have seen it. People gambling away planets in a game of regicide. Anyway, so the Lord Captain wanted me to help her beat some guy. So I tell her, the chips won't land in your favor. You'll get a bad hand. Don't sit down at that table, your ladyship. But did she listen? Of course she didn't. If there's one thing she never lacked, it's stubbornness. So they sat down and the cards were dealt. I'm hovering around like I'm not involved, but I'm keeping my eye on things. And everything in my head keeps getting louder and louder. Anyway, it's a good thing I realized in time that my mind wasn't going haywire over a losing hand, but something else. I made some excuse to drag the Lord Captain up from the table and took her away from that place. And a few minutes later, the room where we'd been... It turned out some wise guy had the same bright idea to bring a pet psyker along with him. One of those ones who just scuttle around in Footfall's underbelly. And the psyker just freaked out, I guess. After all the commotion, people went to see what happened in the room. And they'd all gone for each other's throats. Literally. With teeth. And I think they completely detached that asteroid from Footfall and pushed it off into open space so it would head off toward the local star. Lord Captain, forgive me. But it would be like talking to a person born blind about colors. I could spend hours explaining, but it wouldn't make any sense to you. Every psyker feels their connection with the warp in their own way. One person might see spots and shadows out of the corner of their eye. Another feels fingers running down their spine. As for me, I've got a door in my head. One that's open just a crack. There's no way to close it, no matter how hard I try. I've just had to get used to the whispers from the other side. When I need to use it for work, I listen in more closely. But I usually just try not to notice it. Training, habit, and a little amasec and a couple other things you can get on the lower decks. If you put all those together, it makes things bearable. Sometimes I even wonder if I'm imagining half the voices I hear. You know, when life on board gets a little boring. Better than listening to the living, anyhow. Well, if the door opens, that means somebody's planning to come in, right? But screw them. They're not coming through. Trust me, I know how to keep my valuable head locked up tight. Only losers who are afraid of their own gift lose control. Or idiots who never figure out what they are before it's too late. Or little kids who want to play around with their shiny new toy. If you don't know the limits of your abilities, or you're always bouncing around in your own head, that's a recipe for disaster. All right, that's what I'm here for after all. So, I'm just going to lean on that door in my head a little more, prick up my ears, and listen to what the warp's got to say about you. If you'll allow it, I can listen right now. All right, let's hear what they're whispering about you, Seek not on firm ground, but in a golden hall suspended in the void. There waits a child without kin, but with a name blind to truth. She draws the brush across the canvas and does not notice that her palette is full not of paint, but of blood. And with each smear, this well does not deplete, but fills and fills up to the brim. One thing is clear. When this vessel overflows, none will remain unstained. Among the blind men and false prophets, a red-robed sage seeks the answer to a question. He does not know that it is not the answer he must seek, but the question that will draw everything into focus. Will you help him, rogue trader? But mark that sometimes ignorance is sweeter than oblivion. A chained hound chases after glimmers of the aurora, but sparks in the scent of oil confound his nose. A chain trails after him. What will happen if you pick it up? Will you become his master, or merely another beast in the pack of his true lord? The glow of dawn bursts forth from its prison. Dungeon walls cannot contain the dark essence wallowing in the dust. A naive cub pushes his nose into a familiar hand, one that holds death in twisted glass. Cherish it or cast it off as a burden. The sword of change has already been raised. What is one more life to it? I'm sorry, Lord Captain. The voices are going wild. I can't make out a thing. I'll try to rein them in, somehow. But for now... All right. Let's hear what they're... I'm sorry, Lord Cap... None of the officers knew the Lord Captain well. Not even Abelard, and she was always closer to him than anyone else. She told me from the off if I ever listened to anything in the warp about her without her permission, I'd be going out through the airlock. I'm not an idiot, so I never stuck my nose where it didn't belong. Only when I was a... It's hard to wrap my head around the fact that she's gone. Lady von Valancius gave me everything I have. She opened the stars to me and the paths between them. I still think I can hear her voice. The little sister is afflicted with her own set of voices, ones that whisper to her about corruption and heresy. The silly girl doesn't realize that if she wants to find the source, she needs to start by looking in her own head. Of course.
Is there money to be made? That's how it's done. Success is the only outcome I accept. I always keep my options open. Miscalculations are for commoners. I don't make mistakes. I make profitable learning experiences. Keep your wits about you. Let us not dawdle. Always keep your eye on the prize. What's a peculiar thing?
Greetings.
Lord Captain? Lord...
Ugh, they're staring at me with their burnt eyes like I'm a leper. I'm just passing through, all right? So you lots can calm down.
Is there money to be made? Just as I planned. I always have a backup plan. I always get the job done. Success is the only outcome I accept. Just as I planned. I always get the job done. I always keep my options open. That's how it's done. Rise to the top, or get left in the dust. Always keep your eye on the prize. Is there money to be made? Let us not dawdle.
My whispers crave entertainment.
I always keep my options open.